What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trading Brains. I'm your host, Evan Greif, here with my co host, Angelo Messina. It's been a while since our last episode, roughly 2 months. But again, we are very, very excited to be back here producing another episode for you guys. Lots to catch up on. But today, our main topic is going to be about weddings, how to plan them, how to handle them, especially in a pandemic. And Angelo is pretty privy on that. I think he's going to be able to speak on it a lot more. So let's just get right into it. Angelo, when you when you decided to get married, of course, was the pandemic already happening or was it before
So,
the pandemic?
ooh, so back so like we were dating like about 4 years, so a couple like three and a half, give or take. It was right
We.
before pandemic.
Oh, okay. So you
So
and Danielle
I got
decided
I
right.
got engaged though November before pandemic, so like legitimate
Oh, wow.
5 months before pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So planning wedding, normal year, just everything normal.
Mm-hmm.
Find a girl you love, get on one knee, you ask the question, whatever. After we picked the day and we already started getting our vendors. So I was like, oh, this is great. So now we could kind of like sit back and relax.
Was that in December?
December, January, mostly January, kind of like we
Okay.
start planning everything, picking
Right.
our dates. Like, let's just get all our dates. Let's get our vendors. Can they come? So probably about like the month before, and we're like, oh, what is this virus? Is this going to be what it is
This
now?
is going to be a problem. Yeah. Was what was the original date that you guys kind of pegged as when you wanted
Well,
to
it
get
was
married?
so traditionally in her family, they get married on the last weekend of June. So
Hmm.
we got the Friday of that day.
Okay.
So June 25th of this year. So when we booked it, that's a year and a half to plan a wedding, which normally is average.
Yeah.
So some people do 3 years, some people do 2 years, depending on who's paying what, if and the amount of money you guys have, how long. Average about a year and a half to 2 years is probably average because now trying to make like it's technically speaking and before used to be a way to make money for your house for a saving account or a down payment on a house because technically with all the gifts you actually get enough money that covers the whole wedding plus money. But now with
Mm.
everything being increased, breaking even is the best thing you can do, and that's where you have the money.
Everything being increased, meaning the cost of the wedding.
Cost, inflation, everything from 20 years ago to now.
Hmm.
Like I think the average wedding, dependent on how you do it. When I say how you do an average, is you get a venue, you get them to make all the food, and you get the photographer and all that stuff. You're spending about anywhere 60 to 100K
Wow.
on one night. Like I said,
Yeah,
depending on
obviously it depends
who
on the
you get it.
venue,
You
how.
can cheap out on a couple of things like make everything online, save a couple of grand here and there, and now you're pushing about 40K. And then maybe like, oh, your best friends, or a good buddy of yours is a photographer and a videographer, and he gives you a discount. Like
Mhm.
that's where you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but planning it. So when that's around February, when we got the word of hey, this is the pandemic. Okay, what is going on? We kind of put it back in the back burner, kind of like, hey, we got nothing else to do. We got all our venues, we got all our vendors, we got the church, we got everything. Now it's the payment and the details.
Hmm.
Since everything was shut down, there were no details. So people were panicking. When I say panic, um, they were trying to change their dates. So they constantly changing their dates on let's push it back 6 more months because everything was on shutdown. So they had to. So
Hmm.
I know two accounts. When I say two accounts, two buddies of mine that I won't say because it's their story.
Right.
One of
Yeah.
them canceled and their venue were saying, "Oh, you have to get married 6 months from now." And that's it. And like, well, 6 months from now, I don't know how many people I'm gonna
Otherwise,
like.
they lose a deposit or.
It's either like you lose all your money, you like all your money, like whatever. Let's just say is 10K, which is not probably about anywhere from 20 to 40, but all the money that you put, and that's a lot of cash that
Yeah.
you're gonna be losing. Like how I feel about that is kind of like, well, okay, with the venue, it's like, okay, they need to protect themselves because they need the money because they had no more parties.
Right.
So, but the bills, they had to pay all the bills. But then also the couple, that 10K, like or that 20K could have gone to somewhere else.
Hmm.
So now you want to go into that. That's kind of hard on what to do.
Well,
Okay.
before, I mean, I don't know if we should go down that hole until we get the whole story from you, because I want to hear more
Yeah, I'm
of
just like kind of like going into it. So going to me, I think we really didn't like worry as much until maybe it was January. And like from the other two accounts, they canceled or moved their wedding back and back.
Mhm.
So now it's January this year, and we're like, how many people? How many people can we invite?
We're
What
talking
is
about
the
January
static quo?
2021.
Yes, of this
Okay,
year,
of this year.
2021. Yes. So like December last year, just January of this year, we were like, what? How many people can we invite? Because if you only can invite 100, so people were only allowed to have micro weddings, which were only allowed to be 50 people.
Hmm.
So from 6 months, 8 to 6 months in, you were only allowed to have 50 to 70 or 75 people, depending on how much of the venue can hold.
Hmm.
So we're like, that's a third of our invite. Like we could invite over 270, 280 people.
Okay, so if it's like a venue that typically holds 400 people, you can have a wedding of 100 or 150 or some
Mhm, mhm.
percentage, right, of that. Okay, yeah.
So, okay, that was January. Now we had to wait from New York State. So, however you want to look at the governor and how he planned it is either good or bad, depending on how you view it. For me, as a wedding aspect of looking, trying to plan a wedding, it was just stressful because you were at the mercy of the law of or the guidelines of saying, hey, can I get more people? And if so, when would that be updated? So planning it for month. From now we're in February, getting the invitations, talking to these people, talking about dresses for the flower girl, her bridesmaids, and all that stuff. Now it's different because planning became a lot harder of just trying to get a dress for the females. I like my fiance or soon to be wife had to go to 4 different appointments, which appointments were fine. That was normal, but it was only her and someone else, not other people, or depending on the dress store or the bride store, how many people they're allowed in and what time and how many. Now, and I think our biggest concern on dresses was the flower girl. We really wanted a dress. We put the deposit, and the manufacturer didn't have the dress made, and they stopped producing the dress. But they had the dress to be like to dress, like to wear as a fit.
Hmm.
So thank God Amazon is there and big company. So we're able to get kind of like the dress that we wanted from the beginning, but minor details. But
Hmm.
we're surviving. It's not like the main thing, but it's a little cosmetics, how I look at it. But now it's like, okay, now it went from 70 to 50 to 75, 75 to 100. And now this is in March. So March, we send the invitation. Yeah, we send the invitation about end of March, April. So we sent, and now from April, it got pushed up to 150 people. So we were like thinking like, oh, okay. 150 people wasn't that bad because that was more than half. I get 75, she gets 75. And then people from out of the country, like yourself and whatever, we could still invite. My family from Italy can't come because of lockdown. They were still in lockdown. They're still in lockdown. So we had to wait for them to be completely done.
Hmm.
So so we're planning something later on for them next year or 2 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, we are in lockdown in Tokyo. Technically, international travel is still allowed. I really hope that that continues until at least my flight date. Yeah, but obviously I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah. So like now that's what's going on with a lot of these venues or topic. Now we just got word that from we're allowed to have 200 people at the venue. So that was like, okay, 200 is a normal wedding. No COVID. Oh, and that was another thing too. The next big expense was in the before they made that 200, they had a rule of the people or your guests had to provide either a vaccine card or a negative test.
Mm,
Fine, I understand, but now they got rid of it. Now you don't have to do that.
mhm.
So now you can just come in. Now you can wear a mask. You have to wear a mask, but the only time you're allowed to wear a mask is either you are anytime you are walking around, or that's actually the only time. When you're allowed to take it off, it's either when you were sitting down on your table with the table that you're with, or a drink in your hand. So that's the loophole. Okay, I just need a drink in my hand. So I made a fun little joke to my fiance and my future in-laws. And I was like, I'm just going to duct tape a drink in my hand and that's it. You know what I mean? It's my wedding. It's part of not my wedding. It's me and my fiance's wedding. But like, I want to have fun. Like, I'm hopefully I'm not going to get obliterated, but I'm going to get drunk. That it'd be still, I can remember my night. So with everything I feel like going on, like the stress, I think it was just unnecessary because like the invitation, we had a grammatical type, like a grammar typo, and the people who did our invitation outsourced to another company, and connecting with them was so hard because it was only a two people kind of stuff and they were doing all of it.
Mm.
So like I feel like planning a wedding, I think if you get engaged, one like main thing I want to say is if you guys get engaged and don't at least give yourself at least an average year to get 2 years, start trying to find a venue the moment, like legitimate, you get engaged, she says yes or he says yes, whatever. Start trying to find a venue because people are getting pushing back and now people are getting married. Like I know one of my new friend, like not when I say new friends, like new friend that got engaged. He just found a date 2 years from now. So you know what I mean? Like 2 years from now, that's a good point. That's average, and he was able to find it. But you're not going to get married in a year from now and during the pandemic because now you have everyone who got pushed back.
Right,
And
right, right.
now with the rejections soften, you could get a little bit better. So the main thing is what do you want to do? Do you want to do the stress? And the stress is just basically putting more small fires, small like little fires. Then it would be just this big pressure on getting the married, doing everything right, trying to plan stuff, and like depends on what your profession is. That's also trying to make communication will have to be key. So, so I think that's how everything works out. Main purpose on planning a wedding is just if you're able to put out more little fires.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually done it before, but I do imagine it like, since I haven't done it, I can't really say, but I would liken it to doing tasks around the house that have to be done, and you know that you have to do them, but it's not something you're accustomed to or not something you're used to, especially because when you're planning a wedding, it's all new.
Well, yeah, it'd be all new and trying to plan everything, but when you want to do it here, it wouldn't be for the next what 2 to 5 years, like 2 to 5 years
Right.
in a
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like
Yeah, I guess if you have a longer time horizon, you have more time,
you don't have to
obviously, to
worry
plan.
about this,
You
and
don't have to
that's the goal, and that's
get
the
everything done all right away.
that nice thing about it. I feel like planning like legitimate going. I like just want to like if didn't miss like didn't hit anything from home. Planning like a wedding takes a lot. It takes a lot of money. You need help. You need a lot of money saved. Like you think saving for a ring, it's annoying, like big. Saving for a wedding because it's only for one night.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. Like buying flowers, like the main
That's why
thing
you got
that,
to get a good photographer, right? And videographer.
well, like it was funny
You
because
gotta
it's like
memorialize it.
like my photographer, we went and he did my brother's wedding.
Uh,
Awesome group of people. He had been in business for ages, family owned business. And he looked and we looked at the price. It was like video photography, 12 hours, XYZ. And it was just like, okay, 12 G's. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? Like how? Like, I like
yeah,
my
that's
dog.
$1,000 an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so like for 12 hours, you split it up, whatever. So we're like talking about it and we're just like, okay. He's like, oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I did your brother's wedding. Oh, you guys are good people. Like he like slashed the price. I'm like, okay, cut. Oh, you're getting Soundview? Oh, I really like the food there. Sliced. Oh, you're getting married on a Friday? Slice. And like it dropped down $5,000. I'm like, huh, bet. This is awesome.
Right.
So like other places, like you have to like some people, depending on who you go, referrals are key. Like going to different places and you'd be like, oh, I know these people. I could do a price, or I could give you the price that I did 4 years ago.
Right.
I'm
Right.
okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I feel like the next, I think besides like photography, it's like flowers. Flowers are expensive as a whole because you're getting fresh flowers that's going to die in a day.
Right.
I like flowers, don't get me wrong, but for the price that they want, I'd rather just get wood flowers and just paint them myself.
Right. Yeah. That would be a fun project.
It would be a
Do it
lot. It
yourself.
would be a lot of work, but
Yeah. Yeah.
save that much money, yeah. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could do it real cheap and find out how you want to do it, but
Yeah. I mean, all this talk about how much it would cost just kind of makes me want to have a small ceremony, like at a, I don't know,
like
like
people who get a love,
very
but
small
they
ceremony.
don't have to waste that much money. I applaud them. Hey, good for you guys. Like, I wouldn't want to spend that much money on certain stuff. Like now I'm like trying to plan everything
Mhm.
now, going
But I
back.
mean, at least like you said before, right? You can kind of make a certain return. And even if you go negative on a wedding, it's like, okay, that's kind of expected in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
But
but
you
like
get
you're still
gifts,
gaining
you get,
money.
yeah, exactly.
You're still getting the money back and like the help that you get from your families and whatever. Like it is a lot of help. So going like honestly, like how I think everything plans out, like how it's supposed to be. The stress is just, can you handle if you think something's going to go wrong, times that by 10, that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
not like
worse in a
everything
pandemic because you can't predict if the pandemic is going to get worse or if it's going to get better. Right?
better.
And
Exactly.
luckily, I think New York has, a higher than average statistic across the nation in terms of people who've
Well, we have
gotten
more people
vaccinated.
vaccinated compared to other states.
Yeah, yeah,
And yes, we have more people, so like the numbers is kind of skewed in a way. Like you compare to Wyoming only has 500K
hmm
and they're at 50%, but 50% at 500K is 250K.
yeah,
Kind of different than with us when we're at 20, I think 30%, and
yeah,
we're over a couple million just in the city.
yeah.
So
But I mean, reaching herd immunity is still a percentage game, right? I mean, you
of
need
course,
at least 50%. So,
and people are still getting vaccinated by the day.
hmm
So people are still getting the first shot or the second shot, or they looking to get the Johnson and Johnson. So like that's how I feel like going in forward. I think now when you're trying to plan a wedding, you're good. I think you plan for 2 years, you're good. You do the average time, you're doing what everyone else before pre-pandemic. Anyone who did plan a pandemic wedding, I applaud. It's just not like myself. Like I'm not married. We're not married just yet, so I haven't crossed the finish line.
right.
But everyone who did before today, I applaud them because that was so stressful because I'm going through it now. So
hmm
my shoes are already in their shoes.
Yeah.
Like my shoes is like, I'm like, what can I just say I do and call it a day?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, you're gonna find that it was worth it. Maybe not
Oh,
fiscally, right? Economically, or even the
well, physically,
stress, whatever.
I'm not
But
even
like
worried
on
about
that
that.
night, on that day, like it's gonna be so special, and you are gonna
Exactly.
have those memories forever, and you're gonna have,
And
it's
I'm
gonna be
gonna
worth it to have
spend,
paid for the photography and everything.
yeah,
So
and it's and you're gonna be spending the people who you love. That's the most value of it.
yeah,
So like that's why how I want it. It's just talking to people about it. Like, that's the best thing. So planning everything, I feel like just truck through it, truck through it, truck through it, truck through it. That's the main thing I will have to say. If you're able to withstand it, I think you're good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in contrast, my marriage, we didn't have a wedding ceremony. Not that we're not going to. It's just we decided that we would not have a wedding ceremony here in Japan. I think it just didn't kind of make that much sense. Um, and so, we did the paperwork. We got married under Japanese law,
Mhm.
and the U.S. recognizes that, of course. So, um, I want to have the ceremony in the US, and it's probably not going to be a huge ceremony. I don't think I'm going to have, a large venue, a large amount of people, but um,
You're
it's
probably gonna
still,
have
it's going to
about
be our,
80 people.
yeah, yeah, something like that. I think.
And that's fine. That's completely fine because some people can just cater to 100 people. Some people can just do 50. Some people can do 300 or 400 and invite everyone from everyone. Like Danielle, like my fiance wants to invite like their neighbors, and like I'm totally fine with it because I met their neighbors before and they're really
Mhm.
nice people. But now if you have to make the cut, I think that's also another thing too, was talking about main thing, guests. Who can you invite? Who makes the cut? And then are they going to complain why I didn't make the cut? I'm like, well, family's first. I have to invite family, even though some I'm not close with others, but I want to be, or I'm not going to be closer because of that day, but you have to spend time because you're blood related with them. Then you go with your friends who you really want to be there for the most part,
Mhm.
because either one, they helped you out in the relationship, two, they might help you to be like set up and like be the wingman for a couple of dates, or like three, they were just there when you were in the ups and downs, like
Yeah, yeah,
sharing that moment. Like that's like, oh, you had to wait. So like a lot of my friends were on the B list and waiting for people either say no, or two, saying or getting the restricted lifted to be 200, and
increase.
that was
Yeah.
the case.
So you guys are doing 200 now. 100 for
200
you and 100 for.
and max 200. We're not going to go above and we're not going to go below for one, the venue. Two, I if we get less, it's less people per plate, less tables, less this. So the cost does come a little bit down, but yeah, you do sacrifice on the people giving gifts. But like I'm not even looking at this point. I just want to get the planning done. Like that, the gifts will come depending on who value the friendships or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. How
And
do
also,
you how do you manage the tasks and the time management, right? So like you probably split up parts of it that Danielle handles and parts of it that you handle, but you guys
so
both work full time. So
we both work full
when you
time. I work two jobs. She works full time. Um, so like legitimate planning, it dependent on, like I say, when I say it all depends and still on average, is your bride going to be a bridezilla or is she a control person? My fiance is not a bridezilla per se. Like, I don't think she's like, but more she wants it her way in the sense of I want to do it. Let me call the venue. Like let me call and with the invitation. Like when we went and see invitation places, we went together. Photography, we went together. We made both a decision. Like I had my input, she has her input.
right.
But it's like talking and planning, doing the minuscule stuff, she is all her. She basically like, and I kind of told her, it's like, hey, you want me to help you out? I am all here. Send me a picture. Hey, what do you think? If you don't want me to be there, fine. You know what I mean? I trust your judgment. It's like, because like how you look at it planning a wedding, like me, I start planning the wedding the moment I start buying the engagement, when I bought the engagement ring. Well, she
Mm,
was planning a wedding that you were even in the thought before 10 years prior, 15 years prior. Some people are like that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
depends on who you're with, I think,
For
because you
sure.
could
I
go
mean, a
get
lot
a
of people.
wedding planner.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
get a wedding planner and they could do everything for you.
Hmm. Yeah. But there are some people who want, the perfect night to be perfect in a specific way.
Of course. And that's why like certain stuff like you think like that. Um honestly, with everything, how everything works out, I
Yeah. I mean,
feel
you're
like
getting closer and closer to the finish line. So,
exactly. And like now it just basically shelling out the cash. And we saved a good chunk of the money to cover everything. So like it was funny because I was talking to one of my buddies last night about it, and he's like, I have to like we're doing an engagement party. Like I didn't do an engagement party. I just kind of like, hey, let's go out and whatever. Cause I didn't want to have like the extra hassle. And plus, when we wanted to do the engagement party, we had the pandemic. So we got chipped out of having an engagement party.
right. Right.
So we were like, oh, and then like hearing his like complaints. Oh, I had to invite these people because they're related, but I haven't talked to them over 5 years.
About
Why
an
should I
engagement
invite
party?
them? Yeah. Like having
Okay.
that issue already, that's the issue. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, and I just like start chuckling. He's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, because I this is what I did with my invites for my wedding. Like my rehearsal dinner, it's gonna be big, but I can't invite my friends. I'm only inviting plus ones and whoever's gonna be coming to my bridal shower and the people who are gonna be part of the ceremony.
Right. 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 Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like you laugh because you experience that stress. You experience
Exactly.
that.
It's not like I like, haha, I wish you don't plan a wedding correctly. No, it
Right.
just
Right.
I
Yeah.
went through that.
It's like,
Have
yeah, I know
fun. It doesn't
how
get it
annoying that
doesn't
is.
get better until you say I do.
Until the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, until
Uh,
you say I do. The moment that
yeah.
then you can relax.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know that engagement parties were a thing. I always
Yeah.
thought there was like maybe bachelor and bachelorette party, and then you have the wedding, and that's it. I did not know
Yeah, I will like
engagement
you
parties were
like
like that.
legitimate. There's so many things now. Like you have like the bridal shower, like the bridal shower, wedding, like the wedding, bridal shower, bachelor and bachelorette party, the engagement party, engagement photos. Like there's little things that now how everything was involving, like you can do anything and anything.
Yeah, we
That
have engagement photos, but I'm gonna be honest. Like I was pretty. I was a lot more hefty than I am now. So I'll be glad once we have the wedding, and hopefully I can maintain my current physique or even look even better at that time. But
yeah.
we'll
So
see.
like that's what I feel like. And also like you're gonna come here a month before and like trying to maintain the weight.
Hmm.
That's another thing too. I gain some of my weight back, but I feel like it's more a little bit more muscle and like a little physique,
Hmm.
but some areas because I actually did like my measurement and all that stuff, like trying to get into a suit and like look at my measurements. Like I feel like I'm still in my physique, just a little bit heavier, but I still look good. Not like heavy, like oh I'm fat. Now I'm gonna
Hmm.
like get it more fit
Good, good.
or muscle fat, whatever you want to talk about it. I kind of like so like I feel like planning a wedding, getting ready to be good in the suit during the pandemic, doing meetings, doing who we have to do, what else we have to do, get favors, order it. Hopefully they come in time. Like right there, like you just saw me, like I just went from one thing to another in a split second.
Yeah, yeah.
And but like you have another person's like, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? Like my fiance's family, like the mom and the sister are going out east to clean out the house that they have, like a summer home to clean out because that's where they're gonna have the bachelorette party for her. So
Mm.
like it's not just one or two people planning, there's other people planning other stuff. And like this is where you have to talk to other people and being like, hey, this bridal shower for them because they changed the bridal shower. And it's like legitimate. I think what June 5th, that's the bridal shower. So that's 2 weeks away, and they just changed where they're having it. So trying to tell everyone, hey, you have to call everyone who is coming and call them, hey, this is the new venue.
Hmm.
So yeah. I've really, I like talking about it, and like I think I feel like I could just go and try and like as I'm talking, I think more stuff will jog my memory. But like I don't know, do you have any other questions? There's going to be certain things you want me to hit home.
I mean, honestly, at this point, I kind of have an idea, of what the trials and tribulations are, like, what the issues are that can come up, and specifically how planning a wedding in normal times is already stressful. And then tack onto that, you have, a pandemic where you don't know where the wind is blowing in terms of regulations, and, how many guests you can have, and if you can even have the wedding, right? So yeah, kudos to you, man. It's a lot of work, and I really
Work is not done just yet.
pay off.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's not done yet, but
you have to get on a plane to get here.
I do have to get on a plane to get there. Yeah, I have to get tested too before I do that. So
No, you have time.
yeah, I have like half a month.
Yeah, so, all right. I have nothing pretty much. Like, thank you, like guys, like people are listeners, like kind of like looking at, we hit 1,000 views, 1,000 plays on what we use, Anchor, and we just, what we want to say, thank you so much. The criticism that we have got, when I say criticism, just kind of feedback on trying to help us to grow, we do value that a lot. Like, thank you so much for supporting Training Brains. We're going to try to be a little bit more frequent. I think bi-weekly we have talked about. Stay tuned for us, like in the loop. We are looking for an editor, whoever wants to edit, to help us grow and take on a little project, or someone who wants to do a edit, promote us, and it's not paid, it's unpaid, but it's a cool project. We could talk to, like, hang out with us if you want to, and help us grow, help yourself grow if that's the field that you want to go into.
Yeah, exactly what Angelo's saying. We're looking for somebody who is willing to do unpaid work, right? But you'd be getting exposure, work on an actual project. And we're willing to even look into maybe not, economic remuneration, but some sort of other agreement that we can come up on. And yeah, thank you guys so
or
much.
In the future.
And yeah, in the future too. If we grow, then you grow, so
Exactly.
We just want to say thank you again. 1,000 plays for us, that's awesome. I mean, we didn't know how far this podcast was going to go. We didn't know how long we were going to do it. And despite us, Angelo talked during today's podcast about having 2 jobs, and he's planning this wedding. And I'm also pretty busy with my job. I'm also working on my blog, so I hope you guys can check that out whenever you have the time, if you're interested. But we're busy. However, we're going to try to make time, make sure that we're making these episodes, talking about stuff that interests us. And again, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you find us. And we have all the links on Anchor. So no matter what, you can always just reach out and say, hey, we would love to hear about XYZ, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, thanks everybody for joining us on the show. Angelo, it's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. Got people from home, thank you for listening as well. And let us know for anything you want us to talk about or hit, or what we should improve on, and or increase if you want to help us grow.
100%. That's what it is. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you all in the next episode.